It might be a Luke issue. So
it is a Luke issue.
It's a Luke issue. Hello.
Hi.
Okay,
Hello.
Perfect timing. Actually, we're just about to get started. So yeah, last minute, Luke's like, "No, I can't do this," and he panicked and he rage quit. He was like, he threw the mic on the floor. He's like, "I'm done here," and he walked out. He stormed off, all diva-like. It's like, "I'm never working here again." And not that he really worked here. I mean, that would mean I don't pay him. I don't pay anybody anything. I don't make any money either. But hey, we do this for fun. So, perfect timing. Welcome to the show. I am going to introduce my esteemed colleagues. First of all, because he was here before you, Luke, we have Patchouli.
That's fine.
Welcome, Patchouli.
Hello. Thank you.
Yes. And also in the other corner, and just showing up barely, panting, probably has some food on his chin, we have Luke, or Lapsapnow. Welcome, Luke.
Hello. It's good to be here. It's good to be able to make this. Gosh.
It was a lot of pressure. I know. You know what, Luke? I just thought of Luke. Since I actually started having co-hosts on any of my shows, I don't think you've missed one, have you?
No, I haven't.
So it would actually be devastating. We'd be sitting here all sad. We'd be like, I don't know what to talk about.
Yeah.
What do we talk about?
What do we do? What do we do when Luke's not here?
Yeah. Okay. So. Here we go. Welcome, everybody, to Crash Test Indie. I would like to introduce you today to, of course, my other passion, in case you don't already know, because on occasion I do feature stuff like this on the channel, but it's always a struggle to find the right things, so let's just get to it. Let's close this up. And, yeah, we're going to talk about 4-time strategy today, and specifically Polaris sector, but in general, also 4-time strategy. And not only our experiences, but our experiences with this game, because this genre runs deep and long in history. I think since I don't know, the mid 90s, maybe even before that. I remember a game like mid early 90s called VGA Planets. It was like one of the first of its kind, well before Master of Orion, and that was sort of that moment and it was all text based, and I think there was some graphics in it. Yeah, there obviously was. It was called VGA Planets. So, but it was pretty basic, and I'm sure there was stuff like that before that, but that was sort of my first experience. And then we went on to Stars, and then of course Master of Orion, then Space Empires. This genre, it runs deep and it runs long, and the thing that's funny about it is it hasn't changed all that much because everybody's always chasing the Master of Orion dream, and indeed. I think. In a lot of ways, as much as we all loved Master of Orion, I'm gonna get this intro just playing here for you guys. As much as we all loved Master of Orion, there is a deep part of me, there's a part of me that gets a little sad when I start to play a 4-time strategy and I realize all they've tried to do is chase that same dream. And I played Master of Orion for years. It's great. It's up there as like one of my number one, part of my top 10. In the series, of course, and I guess there's only maybe 10 that's worth mentioning, but that doesn't matter. I still think it's really disappointing when I see everybody always trying to do the same thing. And you know, I guess that's really the only 2 games I've really put on my channel that are 4-time space strategy have been either Master of Orion or Star Drive, both of which are Master of Orion essentially. Because there really hasn't been anything in the last, I don't know, in the last at least 4 or 5 years, aside from a few very distinct titles like Distant Worlds, that have really done anything that's worth talking too much about. And the reason I mean, so you're either got to do Master of Orion great, or you've got to do something different. And there isn't enough people trying to do things that are different. So that brings us to Polaris sector, where I believe that they have not only done something different, they've also been able to recapture the ability to play a game like this without having piles and piles of spreadsheets or being completely bored in the late game, or, you know, and still having some interesting ship design without being over the top like Galactic Civilizations. I mean, anyway, so before I get going, Luke, I don't even know, do you play many 4-time strategy?
I've played a bit of Civ Beyond Earth, yes, a bit of Civ Beyond Earth.
Excellent.
I've played some Star Drive 2. One other game I cannot play. Well, I think Sins of the Solar Empire I played, but that doesn't.
It's sort of a 4-time, sort of, yeah. I mean,
yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say, but that's kind of where my expertise ends in this field. So I'm sorry.
that's okay. That's okay. And Patchouli, I think you have a long history of playing these types of games, do you not?
I actually regret not having it. I wish I had, but unfortunately during the 90s, because I'm a 90s kid, during that wonderful time, as some may say, I haven't had a computer whatsoever.
Oh.
So I completely missed all of the stuff that the 90s kids are so about, and I haven't got to play Master of Orion, I haven't got to play all those really cool games, and my first introduction to the 4X strategy, which is, by the way, 4X, not 4 times.
Well,
as
whatever. I would say
strategy.
4 times. So if you prefer, we can say explorminate.
Explore
Because 4X does stand for expand, exploit, explore, and exterminate. So explorminate. There we go.
Isn't 4X a stock
Excellent.
market thing?
What's that?
Isn't 4X a stock market thing of some sort?
I have no
Well,
idea.
whatever. That is-
Possibly. Let's Google that.
I don't know.
Yeah, you get on that.
4x.
And meanwhile,
4x stock market. What is
okay,
this going to come
guys,
up
this
with?
is important now. We are
Interested in
doing
stocks.
stock market.
Okay.
Stock.
Okay, I have to keep this on track. So this might, I don't know, maybe that is something for the stock market. I have no idea. But today we're talking
Go on.
about 4X strategy games, not 4
Yes.
not 4 times.
So, as I was saying, my first introduction to the 4X strategy genre was Space Empires 5.
Mm.
And I came to that game when it was already dead, and the company who made that game, it was no longer selling it. And obviously I haven't had the chance to play multiplayer, and so I was just left alone with this absolutely enormous potential of a game just sitting right there where you can do absolutely anything, and the AI just doesn't do anything. It just builds infinite frigates and doesn't do anything much beyond that.
Yeah.
Infinite frigates. That's
Well,
impressive.
it was
Yeah.
Space Empires 5 is by for all intents and purposes, it was a multiplayer game. Right?
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't the AI. There was very little effort put into the AI because it was designed to be played with a group of people, and I think that's where I think games can kind of get off track nowadays, and not necessarily off track. I mean, most of the games we even talk about on this show are multiplayer games. Why? Because we all like multiplayer games. But I'm going to be completely 100% honest with you. Maybe 10%, maybe 15% of my time is being played. I'm playing multiplayer games. The rest of my time, I'm playing single-player games. And there's
Agreed,
not
yeah.
enough pure single-player games with good AI these days.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you
I-
can
yeah.
both attest to that. We were talking. I mean, even talking about RTS. We were talking about RTS the other day. I mean, there are some good RTS for sure. I mean, you've got Supreme Commander, and it looks like that maybe. What was the other one we were playing? Ashes of Singularity might have some good, but it's really hard to find that. It's really hard to find the really good strategy games with excellent AI. And when it comes to the 4 times genre, it's almost impossible. I mean. For example, for a perfect example, I'm currently playing the new Master of Orion, and in its defense, it is early access, but I'm currently playing that on my channel right now. I've played sloppily. I haven't paid attention to things, and Patchouli can attest to this because he's my military advisor over there. But I've done terrible. I've done awful, and guess what? I am leading the galaxy. Like I am at a point where I think I have 4 times the power of the leading other race in the galaxy. Like, I'm about to just crush everybody. So the reason that is because Master of Orion is essentially being designed as a multiplayer game. And that is not a terrible, terrible thing. It's not. But again, it comes back to, well, how often are we playing multiplayer games? Some of us have all the time in the world to play multiplayer games. I do not. So it's really nice to see a company spending a lot of their time working on that single player experience. I guess.
And also, some of us just don't have the internet for it.
Well, that's it. You could live in South Africa, which is another whole thing.
Yeah.
But so here's the thing: Space Empires. It was huge. Space Empires is a massive game. It is so big, and there's a huge barrier to entry to coming into that. Beyond being that it is basically for all intents and purposes, a strictly multiplayer game. It is huge. A lot of people sitting down to play Space and a person sitting down to play Space Empires, and myself included. If I sat down in front of Space Empires right now, I'd look at it and I'd get tired. There's just so much there. There's so much there, and I love that level of detail. But it takes weeks to really start to understand what you're actually dealing with. And it was the same with some of the old games like Stars and even VGA Planets. Like, these were enormous games with, like, you could spend the first half of the first 3 days just building science vessels and researching certain types of planets and stuff. It was ridiculous, a level of detail. The problem is, we don't all have that kind of time, and number two, it's a real huge barrier to entry, and we don't all end up getting into it because of that. So when it comes to games like Master of Orion, I think that's part of why Master of Orion really took off in the way that it did, because it's so simple. Really, if you look at it, Master of Orion 2, very, very simple games. You have a planet. You basically macro manage the planet. You decide how much defenses are going to go on the planet, some basic buildings, and away you go. And you basically move around your fleets until you get into battles, and then you try and win the game, right? It's very, very simple. And a lot of people have tried to mimic that whole type of thing, some successfully, some not, and to varying degrees in between. However, the thing that I always end up dealing with, and the thing that kind of bothers me, is that a lot of times they're too simple. And even Master of Orion now, it's like, okay, but I want a little bit more. I understand that you're trying to mimic it, but we've all played this. I want a little bit more. And that's where we're going to come to Polaris Sector. I've spent all this time talking about other games. We're going to talk about Polaris Sector. So Polaris Sector is a brand new game. I think it actually came out on the 22nd of March. So in video game years, it's probably 3 years old already. But 22nd of March, it is of course a 4X game, and it's by Slitherine. The publisher is Slitherine Games. The developer is Softwareware. Say that really fast. Like 10 times. Softwareware. And it's actually a recreation of a game from the 90s called Remember Tomorrow, which was a Russian-only game. And they, of course, they rebuilt it, they rebranded it, and it's quite delightful. Let's go in and check it out. So, anyway, so when was the last time you actually played Space Empires there, Patchouli? It's unfortunate that you missed that trend.
Oh man, that was like years ago. But I actually still have the game on my hard drive, and I could probably find it like right now. Maybe in the shape of CD image that I mount on a virtual CD drive and get going.
Well, I remember playing Space Empires actually when I was many years ago, but some of the earlier versions, and I think it was basically an expansion. I'm not sure if it was related to Stars, but I think it was part of the same category as the game Stars, which was this huge game, and I think they just added some graphics to it. I don't know if it was the same developer or not, but they're so similar. And then I think they actually, sorry to say this, but I think they actually dumbed it down from Stars. Again, to try and fit into that Master of Orion little niche, right? So, yeah. Polaris Sector, contrarily, has a lot of that simplicity, but they've designed it in such a way that they can add complexity but still have that simplicity, and that's one of the reasons I truly love this game. But before we get into the actual gameplay, let's talk about what it's like to start a brand new game. So essentially, you're starting in 24. Sorry,
Deluks, could you also activate screen share?
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. Just give me.
It's all right. It's all right. Me and Patchouli were trying to quietly tell you in the chat, but
oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. You're always welcome to just yell at me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Right. See, Canadian. Sorry. Sorry. Can you see now? No.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Good. Let's go back. So this is Polaris Sector. Luke, is this the first time you've actually seen this game?
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen it.
Oh, well. Patchouli, however, you've been playing this already, have you not?
Yeah, I just got the game like the evening of yesterday, and I haven't been playing it till like a few hours before this stream started. Oh. And although I haven't gotten that much far past the tutorial, I can already say that I'm going to be playing this game so much that my relatives will consider it unhealthy.
Oh, all of our relatives think we do unhealthy things. Don't you worry. You are not alone in that. Luke, I'm sure you can attest to that too as well.
Yes.
Yes.
I can very much attest to that.
Yep.
Spending entire nights commentating over reassembly tournaments, I can very much support this statement.
I can't believe you would do that. Hold on, I might have been behind that. Okay, before I go on, I have one more thing that I think it's really important to mention before chat blows up and kills me. This game was actually, it was Weird Dakaboy from the reassembly tournaments, ironically. He used to be part of our reassembly tournaments all the time. It was him that brought this to my attention, and it actually said, you need to try this. And I'm like, whatever, it's just another 4 times. And then I yelled at him, and then he's like, no, you need to try it. So I did, and of course, that's where we are now. So thank you, Weird Dakaboy. TM, of course, that's trademarked. I used to make fun of that all the time, too. Every time you say that, you owe him a penny. That is a deal. So, yes, thank you, Weird Dakaboy. I appreciate that because this probably would have just gone, because there's so many of these now. There are so many 4 times games. Patchouli, in your experiences, you've only been playing it for, what, a few hours?
Yes, I only played the basic tutorial where you learn the controls and the combat, and then I just managed to start a new game after having been in the options and selection screen for several hours, I think.
Okay, let's get to that. I'm going to stop you there because we're going to get to that right away here. But let's talk about the Galaxy creations. So this is what they've got so far. I think they're talking about adding some more types here. But there's a nice healthy start. You know, I'm always, when I play these games, I hate maps like this where everything's evenly kind of separated. I don't like maps like this because I find that, you know, it's really confusing, and especially, of course, if you want, you can turn it into a 3D game too as well. That is essentially, if you had this at 0, it would be a two-dimensional map. But because some people really think they need to have that third dimension in space games, which I find totally hugely confusing. Adding that Z dimension to a map like this is insane. But you can, if you really want to, you can add that Z dimension and then you can rotate the map and figure out where you're going. It's nuts. I remember playing Sword of the Stars. Have you guys played Sword of the Stars?
Unfortunately not. I played Sins of a Solar Empire, but not Sword of the Stars. Sword of the Stars is one of... Yeah, I'm telling you, I missed a lot of stuff.
Sword of the Stars is number 2 on my list of all-time favorite 4X games. If you have never played Sword of the Stars, you need to go back and then wrap your brain around 10-year-old graphics, but it is so good. It is so good. But anyway, Sword of the Stars also had 3D maps and it used to drive me crazy, but that's relevant. Okay. So, pretty generic. You know, you've got your generic maps that are big, large, 2D or 3D. You can decide the size. You can decide the aspect ratio, which is basically, I don't know if it actually shows them. No, it doesn't. But you can actually stretch and manipulate, like stretch it out so that, what does it say here? Oh no, that's the 3D shape one. Hold on, where is it? Aspect ratio defines a galaxy shape. So either wide or tall. But you can't really see what that effect is going to be. This is not the highlight of the game, but I just wanted to show that it does have the maps that I like. So it has the spiral maps, which I truly love. I love these maps, but I hate it when I start here. Love it when I start here. And I have a game that I have saved where I started right on the very, very, very final star, which is amazing. So I'm conquering all the way down here, and I've got some paths to the inner. Oh, it's just awesome. So yeah, some basic options here, but yeah, everything that I like is here, especially the cluster map. Where is it here? The segmented, this one, stuff like this, where you're basically starting with your own little space. So you've got, you know, like, so the Lapsapnow Navy would have, you know, this area of space, and it's you start out with, you know, a decent amount of planets and everything. But anyway, so let's move on to the next thing here. So the race selection, Patchouli, can you tell me your thoughts on this?
As you can see, there's a selection of 9 races. There's a bunch of bonuses to various things that will affect your gameplay, but all of that is actually not important. What's important is the wall of text that you see on the side of the screen. And this is the actual highlight of the game that we have come together today to show you guys.
Yeah, the This, you know, okay, in most of these games, usually you just skip over this part, right? Because you're like, oh, whatever, they're just Earthlings. But oh my God, whoever wrote this stuff is amazing. Here, let me read about the genders of the human race. There are 3 human genders. Two of them exist for the purpose of procreation, while the third is strictly for pleasure. Females bear children no more frequently than once a year. Children are raised amid a chaotic system that leaves families constantly in flux, while the many organizations that exist to aid the process do nothing but confuse the reproduction system in place and segregate the race along both intellectual and physical lines. It's amazing. Whoever wrote this stuff is I have to meet them. They're so good. The drills, these guys are like, they're kind of like, I would equate these guys to kind of like being orcs. They're kind of orcish, right? But physiology, there are 4 drill genders. Whether they breed in circles or by alternating determines the gender of their offspring. Their young are handed over at birth to be cared for by the community, a process in which the parents themselves do not participate. They might mate quickly and mindlessly, which is why there are so many of them. The short lifespan drills enjoy is plenty for them. After all, a subpar intellect doesn't need the time others would take to accumulate knowledge. Honestly, if you get this game, you have to read through it. So we'll go quickly over these. So we've got the cat race, of course. Everybody loves cats. Why wouldn't you like a cat race? Also on the bottom here, you'll notice there is no custom race, but you can customize each race to suit your needs, including just like Master Variety and other games. You can of course make it so that they eat more, but then you can increase the rate that they grow in population, for example, just like other games like this. You can make races aquatic, adaptive to radioactive worlds right away, which is a huge advantage actually. Or if you like, just accumulate some points and take an advantage in technology. But yeah, you have your cats, and each one of these races has a very distinct personality. The cats, by the way, are very ornery. The Aryans,
they are constantly high on catnip, by the way.
Really?
Like forever. Their entire race is just high.
I didn't read this one. Is that what it says in here? That's funny. Oh my God.
Yeah, read the part about the Valerian root.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to go through all these, but because we're going to move along. But I'm just encouraging people, if you do get this game, read through these. These are amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Then the Aryans, these guys are kind of like I compare these guys to kind of the Cylons, kind of the intellectual race, aren't they? I don't remember. But anyway, the drills, these guys are like the mindless orcs. And of course you have the birds. These guys are awesome. I really, really enjoyed reading through these guys. These guys were basically radioactively mutated by the planet they were on. So they have all these growths and stuff, and they're awesome. They're called the Logans, and being them is great. And of course they can occupy radioactive worlds, which is great. The Magellans are right out of Avatar. These guys are directly out of Avatar. They are the race from Avatar. And of course, humans, Donald Trump. And then we have the koala race, which is, of course, koalas, because why not? And lizard men.
Yeah, they look like stuffed toys.
Yeah. Sorry, Luke.
If I ever played this game, I am playing as a koala.
Of course! I haven't played them, but they look like... So, like other herbivores, Vagalar physiology is built around protracted digestion of fiber-rich foods. As a result, they stand out thanks to their pudgy bellies and underdeveloped muscles. Fantastic. Anyway, so let's move on. We'll just pick a race here, and I'll just show you the beginning of the game, and I'll show you sort of... near the... I tried to get some mid-game and late-game. I didn't make it that far. I tried my damnedest, but I just couldn't get as far as I want to get. So let's talk about the basic screen here. First off, you'll notice there is no money in the game. So like most of these games, they give you a generic currency, usually credits of some sort, some intergalactic credit that is universal for everything. That doesn't exist in this game. Rather than that, you have different kinds of currency. Of course, you have production, which is a type of currency. You have food, which is a type of currency that you can't trade. Well, you can actually use it for trading too as well, but you need to monitor those. But primarily, you need to keep track of your minerals. And at first, when I first saw this, I'm like, oh no, this is going to be like some of these other games with a billion different minerals, impossible to keep track of. But actually, no, it's managed in such a great way. This is your entire empire's worth of mineral reserves right here. It shows you how much you're making per year. I'm not sure what the time frame is on that. We'll talk about time frame in a second because it's a real-time game potentially. But yeah, so and your entire race can share your pool of everything, including food and all of the resources. So it's so easy to manage. So like with other games, now there's the one thing that did kind of bother me is that when you get a planet that, say, you can, and in this game, you really want to focus planets on doing certain things. Like you'll have an agricultural planet that is strictly, actually, I'm going to load a game here. You'll have an agricultural planet that is, let's go here. The Hunams. Hunam. Okay, so you will have, and you'll want to build things like agricultural planets because food is shared throughout the entire civilization, right? Which is fantastic. So it just, yeah. Well, I rename my planet so I understand what each planet does. Of course, this is my lunch system, which with Munchiosk, the planet Munchiosk. And of course, all they do is they build food. And what was interesting, and the one thing that kind of bothered me about this, and you're going to see in a second, I'm going to get this going here. You see these pirates coming in? I thought for sure they could blockade this planet and stop the entire... These guys are basically feeding the entire race. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen that way, but they do. Yeah, so they came in and we still had food for the entire race. But whatever, it doesn't matter. So let's talk about, this is a real-time game potentially. Actually, they've designed this in such a way that you can play it any way you want. It doesn't have to be real-time. You can basically set it up to be turn-based. They have at least 24 different options, maybe even more, on what the game is going to pause for.
About 50 different options, 50 different types of events, each of which you could set up to pause or not pause when it happens. So basically you just hit the spacebar, which unpauses your game, and then wait for the next event to hit. And it's like one turn, even though any amount of time could pass between events.
That's right. And you know what? I love this. I love this because for those of us that really like turn-based game, you can basically make this into a turn-based game, but you still have that feeling of time, because time... Oh, I gotta turn off this music. That's the only thing I don't like about this game, besides that YouTube may not like it. Just give me one sec here, guys. YouTube may get really mad at that. Oh.
I would like to mention that this real-time system, in which the time passes and you could accelerate or slow it down, is actually a feature of grand strategy games, like the kind that Paradox makes, like Europa Universalis, Crusader Kings, those sort of big historical games where you could set up a alternate history of Europe or even the entire world from scratch. And I think that sort of feature has been long overdue in a space sim empire management game.
It really does give you a feeling of time progression too as well. And in this game, you know, like time, I think they got the scale. Like they did some really great stuff with scale too as well. For example, if I wanted to set my food planet to build, you know, like, and it's the same like with your first ever spaceship that you build. It's going to take years. It's going to take, you know, 6, 8, 10 years, your first scout or whatever. For example, to build a colonizer on this planet would take 8 years and 1 month for my food planet to build a colonizer ship. Whereas my manufacturing plant, I know I'm just kind of scattered. I'm all over the place talking about this game, but whereas my manufacturing planet would take, you know, months to build a carrier, which is, but at the beginning of the game, it takes years and years and years. And with it being able to turn off and on time, you really get that feeling. So you can run at one time here, which actually is a matter of going up in progression of 3 days at a time. So, and you can bring that up right up to, I think it's years at a time. Okay, so now, couple things. So first off, you've got resources. Each planet has a limited amount of resources which you can exploit. Different planets, of course, contain better resources. At the beginning of the game, you're pretty much, unless you're playing a certain race that can colonize planets that have radioactives on it and stuff, you're pretty much only able to colonize either oceanic planets or Earth-like planets. And those are, of course, fantastic planets. Like, they are any planets that's like Earth. They have a large number of resources. You could dedicate them to doing a variety of different things, whether it be research or manufacturing or food production, whatever. They're fantastic. Plus, you get tons of resources. So you'll notice here we have explored mineral deposits that we can exploit using different buildings. Now, when it comes to the buildings in this game, unlike games like Master of Orion and other games like it, you're not constantly building this myriad, this endless amount of buildings on your planets, which really takes away, like, a lot of times what happens with games like Master of Orion, once you get 30, 40 planets, it's just it's almost crazy trying to keep up with technology and building different types of buildings. Whereas in this game, it's not as much of a concern because you have some more basic buildings. There are more that comes on later on, but this is mid-game. This is all the buildings I build mid-game on a balanced planet, so that it has a little bit of everything. We have factories, we have orbital shipyards, we have research centers, the colonial module, which you start with, some farms, and some basic plants to harvest resources. And this is important because when you're starting to deal with mid or late game in a lot of these games, you'll find that it becomes a bit of a bog, a chore, to be able to keep up with all the millions of different types of machines and stuff that you can build on planets. And before you say, oh, that seems like a limitation, it's not, because the game really is revolving around what's happening in the sky, more so what's on the planet. So let's take a look at research. Research is done so differently in this game. It is more unique than anything I've ever seen before. Patchouli, have you seen much of this?
Yeah, I have seen this research system. And it's actually really interesting. It reminds me of what Space Empires did with the research, except Space Empires had it pretty much more complex in that you would distribute percentages of your research points between different kinds of science that you would do. And here you have kind of the same thing. You distribute percentages of your research points, but not quite.
Yes.
It's actually really interesting.
It is really interesting. So it's not a tree. First off, it's not a tree. It's very different from what we've seen before. It's not a tree. So basically, here's the progression. So you've got science coming in. Planets produce science. Planets are producing science based on how many research facilities you have, all that kind of stuff. And that comes in as a number. That number is divided between two basic areas: fundamental science and fundamental science and applied sciences. Fundamental science is basically researching the categories that you can, or researching new applied sciences. So, for example, xenobiology would be an applied science that we discovered using biology. So, really interesting. So, if I had 100% of my science in fundamental science, we would never actually research any objects or pieces that we can use in our game. We would only research new categories to research. If we had 100% into applied sciences, we would only research what is in the actual applied sciences that we've discovered through fundamental science. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and the other part of this is that everything, if you have, for example, we have this on at 50-50, everything in the game is researching all at once. So it's only a matter of time that we get to anti-gravitation if we have this on as 50-50 and science coming in and this at 50-50. Because eventually anti-gravitation will be discovered. I wonder if we can actually see that here. Anti-gravitation. So will it tell us? Oh, it doesn't tell us how much we need to. We can't even get. That's way ahead. But yeah, so essentially we'll leave it on as 50-50. All of the fundamental science will open up all of the applied sciences, and eventually our research into applied sciences will research whatever's under each category. Now, each category can have up to 20, 30 different types of specific use items that we can research in the game. For example, the anti-Mason gun.
That sounds wonderful.
It does. And this system, so if I left it as is right now and left it just researching like this, even if I just started pumping in science into this, it's still going to take hundreds of years to research anything. So the game still encourages you to focus your research, and you do so by either turning off categories of course, you can turn off, say, we're not going to worry about antimatter at all. I want to focus all of our efforts on xenobiology, so we can just do this. And if that's not enough, we can turn off fundamental science entirely and focus entirely on xenobiology. And if that's not enough, we want to learn something specific in xenobiology and forget everything else, even though I don't know if I can entirely 100% forget everything else. We can actually set it as priority, which will turn off absolutely everything else and focus on that 100%. But even doing that, it's still 137 years before we would research a hydroponics plant, because it requires so many points in complex design. So it actually requires 2 categories to research the hydroponics plant. It requires complex design and it requires xenobiology. Research is, there's so much here to talk about. I'm not going to get into everything, but as you can see, it's complex, but once you get it, it's actually not so bad. Just have to remember that fundamental science opens these categories, and applied science is what you research to actually research specific things. So... yeah. And if, like I said, if I left all this on, it would eventually research absolutely everything on this list. It would just take a really long time.
By the way, there is not just research points that you get from building research stations on your planets. There is also this pink research points resource that you can get from planets that have some sort of anomalies on them that colonize and then receive these points from them.
Yes.
I would assume these planets are fairly rare, and so if you are playing in a small galaxy where everyone is close by, these are going to be very contested points.
Yes. Yeah, great point, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. There is the secondary research points that are just used for certain fields of research, and I do have one planet. I don't know where I put it. I lost my planet, guys. And you actually have to build a very specific facility, but again, those research points are only for certain categories of research. And on top of that, like Master of Orion, and because I have to bring that up, because that's really the basis of comparison for everything, and that's unfortunate, but like Master of Orion, there's also some surprises for you to find out in the galaxy. For example, there's meteors, there's hidden caches of things, there's scientific anomalies that you can only research with certain types of scanners that are actually on your ship, and we're going to talk about ships in a second. And there's also things like this, which I just love. So if you remember in Master of Orion, if you took over Orion or other certain star systems, you would get access to technology. So, which was always fun. If you conquered Orion, you got access to some really amazing stuff and be able to destroy things. So they've taken that and they've taken it one step further. So instead of one planet destroying a Guardian and you get stuff, for example, I've got 2 different ancient races, parts of ancient race ships that I found with my cargo scouts, and I brought them back to our home world, and I found 1 part of 4 for this gravity anomaly, this ancient Prion gravity anomaly, and I found part 1 of 6 of this ancient Arion gravity anomaly. Now, if I happen to find all 6 pieces of this, I will get some kind of ship or technology that I can use in the game that's supposed to be absolutely outstanding. And I love this part. So basically, it really rewards searching the galaxy. And this is year 2198, so I've been playing for 150 years, which is actually a fair amount of time. And I've only found 2 of those pieces, and I've only barely started to cover part of this leg. So I think this part is really great, and it also adds another reason to attack races is to get a hold of these pieces, because that would be kind of like conquering Orion and getting some really amazing stuff. Now, on to the next piece, which I think is everybody's gonna love, and that is ship construction.
Ah, good.
Ah, yes. So, again, I've almost made it up to the mid-game. I haven't made it up to frigates. So this game goes fighter, freighter, or fighter, corvette, freighter, frigate, cruiser, battleship, dreadnought, I believe, in terms of the sizes. Now, this, of course, immediately you look at this and you go, what does this remind you of, Luke?
Star Drive 2.
Star Drive 2. But
Unreal Tournament.
Okay, well, yes.
It looks like the logo. Don't blame me.
So, yes, it does look like Star Drive 2, except for one thing. They didn't just take advantage of one level of the ship. There's multiple decks for certain classifications of ships. So you're managing, like on a battleship, you'll have like I don't know how many levels. I haven't made it that far, but I presume you're going to have like 10 different decks on ships to be able to add and remove equipment and make it all work. So, for example, let's go into a freighter. What's that, Luke? Is that you laughing?
No, I'm just laughing because this is very cool.
It is very cool. So let's do a new prototype. This is a freighter design, by the way. We will call this, I do have a freighter called the SAEF, the South African Elite Forces fighter. Actually. So we'll just call this example. I know, terrible name, but whatever. Okay, again, I don't have a lot of technology to work with. I've been playing as the the drills, which are not highly intelligent, so research has been slow. You'll notice there are different colors of hard points on the ship. So the orange or the yellow is points where you can actually place weapons. Different races have different types of weapons, but primarily you're going to be stuck at the beginning with these pylons, which are like turrets, right? And then you can add different types of weapons in those turrets. So for example, I currently have access to a light and a medium turret, and we can add those to the if you add them to the top of a ship, they give you a 360-degree arc too as well. Certain ship classes have hard points within the ship, which means you only get the 90-degree arc either broadside or forward or reverse, right? But if it's on the top of the ship, you get access to the full turret. Now, of course, a medium turret would be twice the amount of firepower, and just throw it in like that. So now, when it comes to building your ships, there is no limitations on ships. For example, this may be a freighter, but I can turn this freighter into a carrier. There's no reason I can't have a carrier freighter if I want to. The freighter hull, I believe, is slow by nature. There's some inherent traits to each hull, but there's no limitation to what you can add to it. So I could turn this into a carrier refueling troop transport ship if I really wanted to. So I've got landing modules which can hold so many troops. I've got solar energy converters which can turn solar energy into fuel. I can turn this into a refueling vessel, so I can refuel other ships as well with the fuel that I'm getting from the solar energy. I can also turn it into a bombing ship. I can turn it into a ship that spies on other ships, so it can be a freighter actually performing peaceful missions near enemy race territory, but it actually has spy ships in it so I can actually perform espionage. Of course, scouting modules so that I can access different anomalies and stuff in space and be able to do certain things with it. Colonization module. I can turn my scout into a colonizer, although that's not a good idea because that does dismantle the ship when you do that. Of course, scanners so that I can see fighters in space. Containers so that I can carry the juicy stuff that I find in space back home. Munition supply systems so that I can refuel or rearm fighters, and of course fuel tanks. Now, of course, because I've added all that, there's consequences to adding all this stuff. This ship would never work because it would cost 210,000 units of power, and right now I still only have access to nuclear reactors. So I couldn't put enough nuclear reactors on the ship to be able to do this. But I just wanted to demonstrate that there is really no limitation to what a ship can be, except for each race has different hull types. This is the drills, and the drills have this type of freighter. A freighter in a different race may have two. We'll show you some of the other races, but you get the idea. Every race has is capable of different configurations. And of course, the purple is your engines, just like you would expect, of course, and there's different engine types that you can make use of. You can't place your engines anywhere else in the ship, but you get the general idea. There's a lot of room to play with this. It's really quite cool. So let's go back.
Rob,
yes?
Wait, click on the range icon that shows the weapon ranges.
Oh, yes. So we can also see the weapon ranges on here. I haven't really made
And
use.
the important point I wanted to make people look at here is that the weapon ranges originate at the point where you mounted the weapon on the ship.
Oh,
You
well,
see how those circles are not exactly all in the center of the ship? It's
Yes,
because
yes, I see.
those circles are around the center of the turret.
let's
So,
experiment.
I
eventually-
love that.
So the ion gun, which would be sort of the early game long range capital ship gun. It's very slow firing, but it goes nice range. It has good damage. So we'll put one in front here, just out of curiosity. I just want to see. So we'll put one of those in front, and we'll put one on the side here. So we should see a difference. Oh yeah, look at that! Isn't that amazing? So you can actually see that the one that we put on front actually has will cover more of the area in front of the ship, and the one that we put in the back will cover. I didn't know that. I had no idea. Very, very cool.
I appreciate this level of detail.
It's nice.
Yeah, so with really large ships like dreadnoughts, I think that the ranges will be like way staggered in the distance between each other, and you would have to tactically plan where you put your guns and which guns you put where, so that you have a good coverage of point defense turrets all around your ship, but at the same time you have many guns not too far away.
Oh, see, and here's something I didn't notice too as well. So yeah, as I was saying, like I knew this was a thing, but I didn't actually look at this. So I built this carrier. This is a carrier. It's out of a Corvette. Oh, which doesn't have a lot of space. Actually, I regretted it afterwards because I couldn't, because I only have 5 fuel tanks on this, or 6 fuel tanks. I can only have a range of 6,000, which is, I can't even go from one system to another with 6,000. I wanted to have this ship traveling with one of my fuel tankers, so wouldn't have to worry about fuel, but you can't refuel in mid-flight. You can only refuel at system, so I couldn't actually make it from one system to another with this ship. But something I noticed here, just now, because you just mentioned it, is that I had, of course it has hard points on the inside of the ship here, and I just noticed that this hard point here is strictly for broadsiding. Is that ever cool? I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
because it is on the lower deck. If it was on the top deck,
Yeah,
of course it would be a
anything on the
turret.
top deck is a 360. Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. I love that. And of course, this is a carrier design, so it does have hangars on it too. Now, hangars do not come with fighters. You actually have to build your fighter separately. And so here we go. Yeah, the South African Elite Forces bomber. I did that for you, Luke, by the way. Of
Why,
course.
thank you.
And of course, the interceptor here. Now, just like all other hull types, you get new fighter hull types too as well. And you can jam them, fill them up full of stuff. But there is a limitation until you get into some higher techs of the kinds of things that you can actually put on these ships. Whoops, that's fine. For example, at the beginning, like I said, I haven't made it that far in tech. There's not a lot you can put on a fighter, but you can manipulate a few things, including their armor types, which is relevant because if you have really heavy armor on a fighter, it does affect their speed. Speed here is 2145 with the enhanced tungsten, but if I make it titanium, it's 32.23. I love it. I love the detail. Now, each one of these ships, of course, requires a variety of different minerals to build. It's not money. And it's time. So this is the hammers is of course the amount of production, and of course you have to put a certain amount of minerals, and those minerals that you're putting into each ship that you're building comes from your overall store of minerals. And like I said, it may look complicated at first. It was to me. I'm like, oh god, I'm gonna have to keep track, but it's really super easy to keep track of this. You just see what you're running low on, and each mineral does certain things. So in other words, plutonium is primarily used for building engines and stuff like that. And you know,
In fact, it is even simpler than in Master of Orion, because in Master of Orion, your production and food would not be shared between planets,
that's right.
and you would have to build on that very specific planet that you have the production plants on, and you have to make sure that you're building ships from only that planet, and it would get really annoying eventually. You have too many worlds.
Absolutely. So you can definitely have planets that manufacture, and I showed you that a little bit before. So you have planets that have high levels of production with orbital shipyards and stuff like that. So that is the only thing that determines the speed at which you build. But what you can build is determined by this bulk stockpile of resources that you can share, including food. Food is on here. So right now we have 48.5 million pieces of food, and we're gaining 106K per turn, whatever. I don't know what length of time that is. Now, keep in mind, I have 2 planets producing food, but I have, 15 planets total in my entire race's repertoire of planets. So only 2 planets producing food. So, and that's good and it's bad, just like in all of these 4x games, because like I have pirates sitting over top of one of my food planets, and of course I panicked and peed myself when that happened, because I thought if they destroy this planet, we're in big trouble. But anyway, so would you guys like to see some combat?
Sure, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Combat is, I think, one of the definitely strongest points of this game, because it was actually what made me look at it so seriously and be so amazed with it. Well, aside from the lore, which is another whole story, but I only played the combat in this game, and the tutorial battle in itself was amazing. It just throws you in there with a few ships, and the enemy force is actually larger than yours and stronger than yours. You have like a 30% chance to win if you choose to auto-resolve it. So you have to actually make smart use of positioning and your fleet and your fighters and manually control all of them so that you win the battle and not just smash ships each other and hope that things will happen on their own.
Well,
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really neat.
Yeah, you are absolutely right, Patchouli. This game is all about tactics. Everything, like, I mean, the 3 tutorials that they put you through, actually, they put you in one scenario where you can't lose, and the other 2, you could totally lose if you do not fly your ships in the right way. So I don't have a really good example of a big battle between a bunch of Corvettes or anything, but I do have one battle where I've got a Bastion. It's one of my battle stations, and it's got a ton of weaponry on it. It's got a ton of long-range weaponry. It's got some missiles, but primarily it's got a ton of fighters, right? And I really wanted to show off the fighter combat because one of the reasons I think we all fell in love with Master of Orion 2 was the fighters. At least for me, I really like the fighter combat. So fighters are, of course, they can act independently or in groups. So let's just get this going. And you can run, the combat is also in a sort of this semi-real-time thing. You can run it as slow as you want, or you can run it as fast as you want. You can pause at absolutely any time. And you can go on the settings and have it pause anywhere, just like you can in the main game too as well. So we could run this at 1/3 time, and you can just get an idea of the scale and how slowly. So you can really imagine, like, in a big battle, like with you say you've got an entire fleet full of massive capital ships, you've got a ton of fighters, and you want to really micromanage everything. Like, look at this. You can actually see every individual fighter. It's so great. So each one of these you have to individually build at your bases too as well. And this battle station also has a whole bunch of fighters left in its hangar. I thought maybe it doesn't. I thought I had more fighters in that hangar, but anyway, so yeah, this battle station can rearm and refit each of these fighters too as well, and refuel and all that kind of good stuff. And these guys coming in, who are pirates, have at least 2 carriers. We're gonna speed this up now a little bit. There's at least 2 carriers in the mix here with anti-fighter fighters. See, here they go. Now. And it also, the other 2 ships, I believe, are good at, I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but a couple of them are really good at taking out capital ships, where the other couple are really good at dealing with fighters. There's no chance they're going to win this fight. I just wanted to demonstrate the real-time nature of this. Now, each one of these fighters also has a little scanner on it, so they can actually see the fighters in space. If you don't have scanners on your ships, so scanners are actually important in this game, unlike other games. So if you don't have scanners on your ships, you can't see small ships at range like fighters, which is amazing. Now, these bombers should just absolutely devastate this. But you get and you can also see the fighters will dodge. Look at that. They're so slow firing capital ship weapons actually can be terrible against fighters that are highly maneuverable. Isn't that amazing?
Yes, I was absolutely stunned when I saw that swarm dodging the main caliber iron cannon shots from the enemy cruisers. It's just so spectacular.
It is. So these guys are already retreating. The pirates, they've had enough. But to retreat, of course, you have to get your hyperspace going, and then sometimes you cross the path, so you have to be careful where you're escaping from, because, of course, stuff will shoot at you as you're leaving. But that was just a quick demonstration of the combat. There's so much more here, guys. We're running out of time, as I'm told in chat, in order to make this an hour-long show, so we can't go on much longer. But any final thoughts, guys? Or anything I haven't covered here? There's so much.
Could I very quickly make a comment about the combat? It's interesting that they're going for a semi-3D effect.
It's a 2D. It's a 2D effect, actually, but they've got the ships are.
Yes, I know. It's semi-3D. It's 2D, but they're trying to make it look 3D at the same time.
The ships are rendered in kind of a 3D kind of thing, but it's a 2D map.
Battle plane.
Yeah, 2D plane. So that's really interesting.
It is.
I mean, it's not. I mean, games like this, you don't expect to have. Patchouli and I were talking about this right before the game. You don't expect to have really intense graphical fidelity in a game like this because you just don't. Generally
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I think it's actually not really all that necessary because the reason why we play such games is for the 4X parts where you explore, expand, and build the empire. It's an empire and management game first and foremost.
Yeah.
And
No, don't.
if
Yeah.
you are looking for spectacular space combat, there's always Sins of the Solar Empire
That's right.
and all those sorts of games.
As Luke was pointing out here, yes. So
course.
it's a it's a 3D rendered ship on a 2-dimensional plane. So you can see as it rotates, it's that isometric kind of look. So this is one of my freighters that's being attacked by the Galvicans. They're the Gavicans, I think. They're the bird race. And that was my loner resupply ship. They just absolutely devastated it. They've actually started to move in. This is later in the game. They've actually started to move into my northern territories here, which is solely undefended. Except I just finished building, like I said, like I was telling you guys earlier, I just finished building an entire fleet, a whole strike fleet of Corvettes and carriers that can't go beyond 5,000 kilometers or 5,000 whatever, so they actually cannot reach the battle up here. That was the point where I went,
shit.
no! Because the distance between this planet and this planet is, it's the amount of fuel. They can go up to 7,000 tons of fuel. So the distance between this planet and this planet is 2,824 units of fuel, but they can't go, they can't actually make this distance, which would require 7,361 because their maximum fuel is 7,000. So I built an entire fleet that can't reach the enemy.
Deluks, doesn't that just mean that it can't go from that point to all the way there with all that fuel? I'm pretty sure it can make those. I'm pretty sure it can actually go all the way. You just need to give it the individual move orders.
Well,
the
way the game works here is that you have to have the total amount of fuel to go from one star system to another. Once you reach the next star system, you can use things like tankers and stuff, which I have located around here. So in other words, this fleet can actually go no problem, and the maximum range of these ships are 7,000. So they can go 7,000. Range of 7,000 fuel. It's all calculated in fuel. So these ships, no problem traveling from here to here because they will see how they eat up the fuel. It's going down. And by the time they get here, they'll be at about 4,000 units of fuel. But, so that's no problem. They can travel up to 5,000 units of fuel. But the problem is...
Don't worry, I get that. But I'm just...
Okay.
I'm just interested at this because... The distance between Algebia and Short looks very much similar to the distance between those other two that you said. So Deluks, could we do a quick experiment?
Sure, absolutely.
Where you move your forces instead of going just a big one-click command, just try moving them slowly throughout there to the maximum extent, refueling them.
I totally see what you're saying, but I would have to refuel this fleet. We don't have time to do that.
Because I know, but just as a test, later maybe when this is done.
I totally know what you're saying, but no matter what, they can only travel between one system to another a maximum of 7,000 units of fuel. So even if they had all 7,000 units and they tried to travel from this system to this system, which would require 7,148, 7,361. They couldn't travel this distance, no matter what, no matter how nicely I talk to them. They're never gonna do that.
It's fine. I was just being an idiot. It's
no. It's a good question, actually. It's a very good question. I can't see the straw poll. The Awesome Will has a straw poll. Let's see what.
Let me look at Will's straw poll because is Laps awesome?
Okay.
Pick one.
I thought it might be a serious straw poll. Yes, Laps is awesome, by the way. Laps is amazing.
There are 9 options. 1 is yes, totally. 2 is yes, he's greatly awesome. 3 is yes, he's the greatest. 4 is yes, why would we otherwise watch? 5, yes, as Rob is his sidekick, duh. 6, yes, he is so amazingly awesome. 7, yes, his awesome power is over 9 billion. 9,000 billion. 8, yes, he's an entity made of pure awesomeness. 9, yes, he's the god of awesome inness. Pouty face. Okay. I think he's going a bit overboard.
I thought it might be a serious poll because he was really trying to get our attention. But anyway, also the diplomacy, which we haven't talked about in this game. Oh, two other really, really important things before you all go. The diplomacy is also actually really good. There's a lot of options. I'm already at war with these guys, so they're not giving me a lot of options. But on a regular conversation, there's lists of things that I can present and talk about to these guys, including trade and all that other stuff. But what's even more important is something else for the late game in this, which is unique not to this game. I've seen it once before in Sword of the Stars. So what happens when it's like turn 9,000? Why 9,000? It's late game in Master of Orion, or it's late game in Distant Worlds or something, and it's starting to get a little trudgy, and you can destroy the entire enemy. It's just going to take time. You already have it. It's all set out. You've got these massive fleets. So what happens in these games is it gets a little trudgy. In this game, once you reach a certain point in power, and you're pretty much destined to win, there's something called the external threat that all of a sudden appears in the galaxy and challenges you again. So it's kind of this, this either an ancient race. I don't know. I haven't made it this far. It's probably like an ancient race or something that's really extreme that you have to set your sights on and actually make use of your battleships again to destroy. So I thought that was really interesting. So, and you can turn that option off, but it's the external threat. I can't wait to see what that's going to entail. So the other game that did this was Sword of the Stars. So late in the game, all of a sudden this race of locusts would appear or something like that and start destroying, or planet eaters, and start eating your planets. And you had to devise some kind of technological way to not only fight, but figure out how to defeat these immense threats, which could theoretically end the game for you. But anyway, I needed to bring that up. Any other thoughts, guys?
I'm actually really looking forward to playing this game fully. And one of the things I want to see in this game is spying. And you remember you had that recon module on your frigate?
Yes.
That gave you like passive spying bonuses?
Yep.
That is what I want to use.
Yeah, espionage.
Absolutely.
I haven't experienced espionage. Also, another thing that really, in terms of making this game a little bit easier to play, they've got this function called planned colonization, which is amazing. So, like in other games, you have to build a colonizer, you have to set the destination, then you have to get to the planet, then you have to build the starting stuff. And sort of get it going. It's a little bit laborsome. So you can actually just hit this button in this game called planned colonization, which you can set your planet to micromanagement, which means you start building the stuff when the colonizer gets here. But otherwise, you've got some governors that will do some stuff for you. These are great, by the way. The governors in this game are fantastic. So if we picked agricultural, they will build everything you need to have an agricultural planet. And you don't have to worry about it. A lot of times what I do, though, even if I'm building an agricultural planet, so we can set micromanagement, that means automatically one of our construction places that are nearby that has really good construction will automatically queue up a colonizer to come to this planet and land on it and colonize it. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Once it gets here, it's going to be set to micromanagement, because I set it as such. And as micromanagement, something that's really important, you can actually set up templates to what you, so for example, I have one called Earth-like Industrial, and I've set it up so basically you just build it once. So I say I want 5 factories to start, then I'm going to do all the basic mineral plants, and then I'm going to do a couple more factories, and I'm going to do research centers. So this is my basic Earth industrial setup. So as soon as that micromanagement colonizer gets there, I can just click on this and then boom, I've got my queue set up. So much better than other games where you just spend so much time going back and forth, constantly building new things for your planet.
Gosh. This
Anyway.
is amazing.
Yeah,
I want to play this game now.
absolutely
I need to play.
The benefits of having good AI that can actually manage your planet instead of building lots of useless buildings.
Yeah, and the AI is amazing. The AI has been...
The other really big thing about it is that there are not that many buildings that the AI can put on your planets and go wrong with them.
Well,
There
that's
are
it.
just a few basic ones.
That's right. Okay, guys, before we go, can you tell me if I really wanted to say something really rude or really nice to you, Luke, where would I go to do that?
Well, here's the thing. You can go to my channel, which is Lapsapnow, which is LAP APS NOW. It's also linked in Delux's channel. He's linked to me very kindly, and I do space games, strategy games, first-person shooters. I do quite a few things. So go have a look and see if it's something you like. Yeah, I do that.
Perfect. And
I also do a lot of multiplayer with Jonas, Oddie, Cook Me, and Deluxe sometimes when he's available.
yeah, we were playing. What were we playing? We were playing
Supreme Commander.
Supreme Commander the other
Alliance.
day, and we were gonna win, but then Luke quit. So.
No. My internet gave up for some reason.
I've heard that before. There will be a rematch in our future. Audie Cook Me and I were going to win that. Patchouli, if somebody wanted to tell you how great you are or that you'd look really good in a top hat, where would they go to do that?
I don't know, because I don't think anyone would say I would look good in a top hat.
Okay, well,
Shut you down.
if somebody really wanted to do that, where would they go to do that anyway? If you wanted them to, maybe you don't want them to. I don't know. I can't tell.
Yeah, you could find me on Skype. I'm Patchouli on Skype. Good luck finding me, though, in the hundreds of other Patchoulis that are on Skype, I guess. But I also have a YouTube channel called Guideline Violations, in which I post videos that make people scared and confused, and I'm also laughing, apparently.
It's terrifying, actually.
So yeah,
Please make more.
go check
Please.
that out if you dare.
Just make more. Patchouli. I have so many resources you could tap into if you want. I don't know.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out either of their channels, you need to check out their channels because they both do great stuff. Totally different stuff, but great stuff. Anyway, guys, I'd like to thank you all for joining me for Crash Test Indie number 9, Polaris Sector. And if you happen to stick around, we will be doing some Space Engineers, I think was what won the vote. Oh, also, before you go, if you're trying to get a hold of me, of course, you can click on all the appropriate links on this video or on Twitch. However, to really get a hold of me and really talk to me, if you really have something important to say, please check out the Deluks Gaming Steam group. Let's just go there. Let's just go there really quickly before we end the show, just so that everybody's quite aware of this, because I'm really enjoying the Steam group. I think the Steam group is where it's at. As much as I like comments and stuff, this is kind of a way for me to sort of communicate with everybody all at once, which is great. In other words, I post when we're doing the Crash Test Indies, as well as any other announcements. We also have Audie Cook Me, who's been taking care of moderating the channel or the group, and also adding straw polls to determine what we're going to play after every stream. So check this out. It is the Deluks Gaming group on Steam. So anyway, guys, thank you for coming.